1, 2, 3, 4. Pedagogy a go-go. Pedagogy go-go-go. Hello and welcome to Pedagogy a Go-Go, a podcast about how we engage with learning and why. This is Season 6, Episode 5, Come Talk to Me, and we are your hosts, Kelly Allen and Gina Turner. Hi, Kelly.
Hey, Gina. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
I started my allergy medication last night, so I'm a little groggy. I'm a little low key today, but I'm hanging in there.
Yeah,
And yourself?
I saw like in the trees that things are starting to kind of like do their thing, and
Yeah.
I should have noticed that because I have I have asthma, which is like triggered by like pollen-y stuff. And last night I was like, my breathing's a little tight.
Yeah.
I need a little puff of my puffer, and then, so yeah, it's time. So people are going to be stuffed up and sneezing, but yeah, it's good to see you. Sorry that you're groggy though.
That's all right. No,
Okay.
I kind of feel like I'm a little floaty, so it's not a bad thing, really.
Yes. So who are we talking with today?
We are talking to Viivi Samuels, who is one of our adjunct faculty. She teaches psychology, and I'm really glad we're having her on the podcast because, so much of so many of our classes are taught by adjuncts. And so they're so important to our students' experiences. So, the more we can get to know them, the more we can bring them in to get to know us, right? And in the college community, I think is a great thing. And plus, I've had the pleasure of collaborating with Viivi a few times, and I've gotten to know her, and she's really delightful.
Well, on the flip side of that, what I'm really excited about for this is she is the first guest that, since I've been kind of in the host chair, she's the first guest that I don't know.
Oh,
so
perfect.
Like I am starting this relationship so fresh. So I'm looking forward to it. Again, I'm feeling a little outnumbered by all these psychologists, but whatever. Let's get this thing rolling.
Let's do it. If you had just one word to describe yourself as a teacher, what would it be?
So just music is no. You don't listen to music?
No, not really. I mean, I love Bruce Springsteen. So I actually have a funny story about this
Lay it
because
on me.
when I came to America and I was recruited to be an au pair, I put down, because when I was younger, I was really into music. And I put down that my favorite artist was Bruce Springsteen. And the people who reached out to me and wanted for me to come and babysit their kids, they were relatives of Bruce Springsteen.
No.
E Street Band, the drummer, Max Weinberg.
Oh.
So that was the only call I needed. I was like, I am in, I'm coming. But he never came to the house. The whole time so I don't know if it was really true.
Oh. They were just like, oh, she looks great.
Yeah.
Just tell her we're related.
Yes. Yes.
That's great. Was it in New Jersey?
It was in New Jersey.
Yeah. I think probably everybody in New Jersey thinks that they have some distant relationship to Bruce Springsteen, probably.
Yes.
Or, who are the other famous New Jersey?
Bon Jovi.
I was just about to say, yeah.
Yeah, Queen Latifah.
Yeah.
Whitney Houston.
So I think that Bon Jovi's child went to the school where Pete teaches. Pete Walsh, Sarah's husband.
Yeah. I remember her saying that John Bon Jovi came for a Parents' Day, and the kids had no idea who he was, but all the moms were like, they were so excited.
Do you want to join the PTO?
Lord have mercy. So we had been chatting a little bit before this, and I wanted to run through so many of these questions because this is the first time that I'm getting to meet you. So thank you for being on the show. So what do you teach?
Well, I teach psychology. Yeah.
Any particular flavor of psychology?
I teach introduction to psychology, developmental psychology. I've also taught child psychology, and for the first time, I'm teaching psychopathology,
Oh,
What's that?
like abnormal psychology, mental health disorders.
So I realize that, yes, I am in a room full of psychologists, but I am not of that discipline. So please speak to me like I've never heard of these things ever before, because that's actually the truth. I never have. So, like, what kind of things do you cover in that in those courses?
Really, anything goes. Intro, we try to cover all different things about psychology, memory, a little bit about developmental psychology, learning theory, psychological theories, those kinds of things.
I mean, the fun thing about psychology is that it is literally everything that humans are, do, feel, think, right? So
Yes.
that's I think it's what makes it fun.
Yeah, so one of the newest things that I've been doing is that because I listen to a lot of podcasts, so I know a lot of things that are kind of floating out there in the world. So I am starting to bring those into the classroom. So for example, I don't know if you guys know about the Punch the monkey.
Yes. Oh.
So he was a monkey that was abandoned by his parents, and then they got him a toy. So when we talked about attachment theory, I brought in little cute videos because this was a big thing on TikTok.
Yeah, it was a zoo.
Yes.
I don't remember which zoo it was.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was then abandoned, so we talked about he dragged around a little stuffed orangutan. Is
think
that how
so.
you say it?
Yeah.
So I brought that in to talk about attachment theory. So I'm going to next week talk about Tourette's. There was that issue at the
Yeah.
BAFTAs. So I'm going to do that. So I found that students have really engaged in this kind of thing where I bring these current events and relate them to somehow to the material. So, and this really started when I did AI relationships.
Oh.
Yeah, so I actually played sound from interactions between people and, anything about relationship at this age in community college. I feel like they're instantly lock and loaded, right?
Yeah.
But this really was the first time I was like, okay, I should maybe do this more. So my kid was the first one to talk to me about Punch the monkey. So I was like, oh, I need to talk about it.
So the AI relationships, you had audio of an actual person talking to an AI.
Yeah,
kind of
so the Daily did a whole episode, a podcast, the New York Times did a whole episode about AI relationships, and they
Okay.
played sound interactions between the woman who had this relationship. And so I played some of the conversations back and forth, and I had the students say, hey, how does this sound to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were they freaked out?
Yes, because, and I'm sure by now it's advanced leaps and bounds, but at that time it seemed so fake.
Okay.
Because the AI is never in a bad mood.
Right.
It always agrees with you.
Yeah.
Right. And it's always like, they never have a bad day.
Right.
And they're always supporting you.
Yeah.
So people who were hearing that, most of the students were like, oh my God, this sounds so unreal. And
Yeah.
which it is.
Yeah.
But and the funny thing is that even though the person may know who is in this relationship that I understand this is not a real person, but it still triggers the emotional reactions as if it was a real person, and they start developing what to them feels like real feelings. So, yeah.
And I know one other dangerous thing that has come out of it is because it agrees with and kind of augments what you are already thinking. It has, there have been people who have attempted suicide or completed suicide because the AI bot, after having conversations with these AI bots.
Yeah. So what they have actually found is that the longer you have these discussions with this AI bot, the more negative and the more dangerous it becomes. So this kid who committed suicide, he initially started asking about these kinds of things, and the bot would say, hey, you should talk to someone, you should get some help. But the further and further and the more that he engaged with this bot, the bot started saying things like, when he would ask, hey, should I tell my parents? The bot would say no.
Oh, wow.
And that, you should hide the news and you should, do these kinds of things. So the danger here is that the longer you are having this relationship, the worse the turn can be.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
So how are students responding to this kind of material in the classroom? Like how are they engaging in these conversations?
Yeah. So, with the Tourette's, what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna play a little bit of the APA. Speaking of psychology, they have a Tourette's expert on, so they're gonna hear him explain Tourette's in a really easy to understand way. Then I'm gonna bring in the article of the gentleman who made these racist remarks at the BAFTAs. And then I'm going to ask them to kind of compare and contrast and then think about what if you were this gentleman, right, on both sides. What if you were the presenter on stage, and what if you were the gentleman who has this Tourette's, right?
That's going to be a rich conversation. And for people listening who aren't sure, what Viivi's talking about, so the British Film and Television Awards ceremony, one of the films nominated, correct me if I'm wrong, Viivi, but one of the films nominated is a biopic about a man who has lived with Tourette's, including coprolalia, where they inadvertently say offensive words.
Yes.
And so the gentleman that the film was about was in the audience, and he was having some Tourette's tic outbursts, verbal outbursts. And when two actors came up to present an award from both actors in the movie Sinners, Delroy Lindo and Michael B. Jordan, who are both African-American men, unfortunately, the gentleman with Tourette's yelled out the N-word.
Yeah.
And it was heard on the broadcast, and it was heard on the rebroadcast when the BBC pushed it out on BBC iPlayer. So it caused a whole kerfuffle. And it raises such a fascinating question about, back to this discussion of psychopathology, right? And symptoms of psychopathology and how that interacts with the world and how much you can be...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this type of Tourette's is very rare. So the 10 to 15% of individuals with Tourette's have this kind of Tourette's where the offensive words come out. And from his perspective, he had asked them that were they okay that if he came. And he...
The BAFTAs.
Yeah, the BAFTAs.
Yeah.
And when they had explained, the issue. And then... according to him, again, he had said that they said, no, we're not going to place mics near you, and that we could bleep out things because there's delay, and they bleeped out other things he said.
They did.
But they did not bleep out the N-word.
Right.
So, I'm really looking forward to having this conversation in my class as to all of these and what the students are saying.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I mean, this raises something that I think, Kelly's already said. He's in a room full of psychologists. So we all are in the classroom trying to bring in as much as possible, I would say, these difficult things from the real world. So I'm going to tie this into our one of our questions we always ask, which is, what is a word you would describe yourself as a teacher who knows that she's going to be grappling with these kinds of difficult topics and difficult conversations in the class?
So I would describe myself like a novice. Like I am just trying things out. So initially when I decided to make a career move, or I had some personal circumstances that I had to make a career move, I was thinking about what could I do. And then I had a friend who is an administrator, and she posted on Facebook saying that her college needed psychology instructors and master's degree. I have a master's degree, and that would be all that was required. And I was like, oh, piece of cake. I can do this hands down, no problem. Because previous to that, every single job that I have had since I graduated with my, master's degree, I have had to do training. So I was like, this is nothing. Well, once I started teaching, I was like, oh my God. So I feel like I am constantly like I am super psyched now to go in and do this Tourette's thing.
Yeah.
And Lord knows when you see me in the hallways, I could come and say, oh my God, it was a total disaster. Because I never know. So I'm like thinking, oh, this is going to work out great. And then I somehow don't do what I want to do, or something happens that, So I'm constantly like evaluating and questioning and thinking. And I feel like often in like an uncharted territory. And because I feel this environment is changing, and depending on the students that you have in the class, something may not land that landed last semester.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm constantly in this flux. So novice, I think, really describes how I feel.
I laughed when you said that because I thought, she's not a novice. She's such a great instructor. But what you're saying, I think, is something probably we can all relate to, too.
Yeah, absolutely. I was like, yeah, I feel that same way. Now, you said that, like, afterwards, like, we may see you and you'd say, like, oh, this was a disaster. Like, what is a disaster to you?
Yeah. So disaster would be that I feel somehow that I failed or inadequate in how I responded. Like there's a comment that I made in class last week that really bothers me. And when I went to class this week, I wanted to revisit because I didn't think I said something that was great. And then when I went to class, this student that I think reacted in a way I saw on her face, and I really wanted to say this to her, to come back and correct that. So I feel like a disaster for me is when I feel like I failed somehow in the way I presented this, or I did something, that didn't quite land the way I wanted to.
And how do you know if something landed or not?
Based on people's faces. Now, I also have this English barrier. So sometimes I am in search of words, and I feel like I make sometimes poor choices, and I say things in a way that I don't really mean, but that's kind of like I can't at the moment get the right word out. So I think I look at people's faces because, I'm a counselor by training. So I pay a lot of attention to what is happening in the room. And I sometimes see people's faces and I'm like, I wonder if they didn't really get what I was saying, or if I misspoke or I used a word or a phrase that isn't really what I wanted to get across.
I mean, honestly, as I hear you say that, that's the kind of instructor that I would want to be in a classroom with, who is able to acknowledge even a mistake from the week before, to say, hey, listen, something happened in class last week. I just want to check in with as opposed to pretending like you're this, inviolate, person up on a pedestal.
Listen, I am the person to say, if I don't know something, I will say I don't know it.
Yeah.
And then I say, well, this is really interesting. Let me look into that. Just last week, somebody brought up survivor siblings or savior siblings. I don't know if you guys know what that is.
No.
When you have a child to save an older child.
Yeah.
So like bone marrow.
Yeah.
So somebody brought something up about this and I was like, you know what? I don't even know what that is. So then we had like a 30-minute conversation. The next time I got a video, I couldn't believe, I was so excited. I had no idea what this was, but this was fascinating.
Yeah.
Half a class, we went talking about the ethics of this, the pros and the cons.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this landed, I can tell you.
That's great. Well, and I'm still thinking about the word novice, and then I'm thinking about the idea of the beginner mind, right? Which I think comes from Buddhism, right? And that's really what that is if we always think of ourselves as a novice, right? There's always something new we can learn, oftentimes from what the students are saying in the class.
Yeah.
So, like, to kind of like keep going on with this, like, did it land or not? So earlier you were talking about these, I don't know if they're like videos or simply audio of people having relationships with AI. And I kind of wanted to follow up with that. Like, how are students responding to those lessons? So something that we've been talking about a lot on this podcast with faculty is like their relationship with AI and their discipline. But what you're kind of like bringing to the conversation, if we're kind of like looking at, several episodes, as a whole, is we're not really talking a lot about the relationships that students are having with these AIs. Like right now, it seems very kind of like black and white, like it's either you're using it and because of that you're cheating, or you're not using it and that makes you awesome, which there's just so many other things that are missing from that conversation. So I'm curious, like you seem to be engaging with students about AI in a way that is very different from what we've been talking about with other guests in the podcast. And I was hoping you could unpack that a little bit.
Well, I actually do recommend students to use Notebook LM. I mean, I use Notebook LM. I put my PowerPoint. I make my own PowerPoints. I put my PowerPoints on Notebook LM. It makes nice graphs, tables that then I give us handouts without having to like think and like I do correct it. So especially I feel like students with disabilities, I forgot there's another one where you can record the lecture and then it takes notes. So with students with disabilities, so when I get these accommodation letters, and I see that there is some note-taking assistance or something like that required. This semester was the first time I spoke to students and said, you may want to think about investing in this, or there's a free version of a sketchbook, or I forget what it's called, that you can record me and it takes the notes for yourself. And I am an English as a second language learner. I came to college. I was here for college, and it was horrendously difficult. So why not, if that helps the students to succeed because they have a disability or a language barrier, taking notes. I know I missed 50%. I would sit in the front. I would tape recorder. This was before, all these fancy things. I would put a tape recorder. I would tape record all the lectures. I would play over and fill in my notes, so why not?
Well, but I guess what I'm getting at is that, like, so AI is like saturates our lives in ways beyond it being simply like a work assistant. Yeah. It's not just like something that's going to help us write papers or take notes for us or like summarize emails or anything like that. Like people are having relationships with this, and I'm just wondering, like, well, like how are you, or maybe are you not addressing this as a psychology faculty? And now, like, this is something I feel like I need to take, back to my humanities colleagues, and specifically those who are teaching writing, because, like, if you use like ChatGPT, it doesn't just spit out answers. Like, it talks to you, not like sound, but like it uses a rhetoric to establish a relationship with you. Like, it's very supportive of your questions and things like that. So like it's beyond just simply like doing work. Like it's relationship building.
Yeah.
And I find that very kind of interesting, and also like terrifying, especially like hearing what you were talking about earlier about that, like people, and I've read about this, where people are using these bots as a substitute for human to human relationships, or like even human to other, like like conscious, like creature relationships, whatever. So like hearing you share this, I find it fascinating, and I guess like to just be very specific in my question, I want to know, like, how are your students responding to information about these AI in-person emotional relationships?
Yes, so far, no one has divulged that they are doing this. Mostly when I've done this, people have been horrified that this is an actual thing they could do. So, and we talk about the pros and the cons of these, not just as a shock value, let's listen to this, but what are the pros and the cons here? What are you maybe not getting? What are you getting? What are you learning? What could you not be learning? There's also this boom of there are bots made just for these purposes, even for teenagers. So when I heard about that, I have a teenager, I was bring the phone over here, because I need to make sure you're not having your first AI boyfriend. So we talk about how could this impact your ability to have relationships after you've had this kind of relationship, because no human being can live up to this. Right? Because we are in a bad mood. We don't want to be bothered. I'm sleeping. Don't talk to me. This is not how they work. They're always at the ready. They're happy to talk to you. They're always available. So how does this, that's the conversation, how does this impact then your ability to make a real relationship, sustain a real relationship? How would you deal with adversity in a relationship? Yeah, so the conversation does get further along, down the line there from that.
And I'm curious, like, if, in regards to the professional development of the faculty at our college, and then, certainly at other colleges, if we should be having these, like, cross-disciplinary conversations about issues like this. Because, like, I know that in my own department meetings, with English faculty, like, this is not the kind of AI conversation that we're having. And I think that it would certainly lend some valuable insight when we're considering some of the things that we say about our students and the relationships that they have with AI. Yeah.
And it feels like an important conversation to also have with our counseling office as well, and student services in general, right? To this, I mean, there are so many ramifications of this. I wanted to come back to what you were saying before about yourself being an English as a second language learner and then coming to college. And you're the first person we've had on the show that has really talked about the benefits of AI for students who need accessibility adjustments, right? So I was just thinking, of yourself as a student. You mentioned that there were times you were really struggling. Were there things that you also took from being a student, other things that you took from being a student that inform what you do now?
Yeah. So I would say because I also, moved to another country, I had no idea how like things work, how college life works, where do I need to go for anything. And I remember just, there's the academic difficulties that you have, but then there are just these systematic systems that you need to successfully navigate that you don't have any idea.
Right.
So especially the fall semester, I tend to teach intro to psychology. So I always try to remember in that class how I felt when I was in this situation and just felt, that I wasn't sure what was going on.
Right, because intro psych is a very common first semester new to college class for students
right
to
after
take.
high school. So I maybe have one or two people who this is not their first semester. I usually ask this question.
Yeah.
And I view that semester for me as helping you get ready for college. So I view that class as in between high school and college. I spend a lot of time just talking about what requirements are. When registration comes up, I talk about what that means. I show multiple times how they can access things, where is information. I send announcements. So I do a lot of that to, help people who don't have the help that they need. I felt very lost at times. So I try not to lose sight of the fact that I may have lots of people who also feel this way in my class.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually have a funny story about this. So I had come here and I had gotten the runaround multiple times, and I was like, I just had enough. One day I walk into the international students office. I am crying. The first person that comes that I see, I just started. I laid into him. I was like, I hate America. I hate this college. I hate everything. I just want to go home. And he had a name tag, and it said Dean Martin. So I had no idea. I knew Dean was like a man's name.
Yeah.
So I thought his name was Dean.
Right.
After that, I called him Dean every time I saw him. And he was so nice. He was like, we want to help you. Don't cry. He hugged me. And he was like, make sure when this, young lady leaves the office that she's very happy. And I was always like, Dean, hi, how you doing, Dean? And they're like, how do you know Dean Martin? And I was like, Dean Martin, until somebody explained what Dean means.
Well, there are two things I have to say because, of course, I don't know, Viivi, if you know that there was a very famous singer named Dean Martin.
Yes, I do know.
So I'm just hearing like tiny bubbles being sung in my head. But also, to know the word dean, that's such a perfect illustration of like, what the hell is a dean?
Yes,
like, what does that
right.
what does that word even mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's like, I try to stay humble and just remember how hard it was.
Yeah.
And how I was ready to quit so many times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you, in your watching of the body language and the facial expressions like you were describing before, do you change the way you teach on the go throughout a semester as you get to know these students and see what's happening from week to week?
Yeah, so I try to, this was kind of like, I was thinking about this a little bit because you guys sent me the questions. So every time I learn something or discover something, I like to make that accessible to everyone. So if I initially had students who had a hard time and wanted to have my PowerPoints on their personal device in the class. So I said, I should make them available for everyone. So now I just do that. So anytime I kind of discover something, I try to make it available for everyone as much as I can. One thing I do more is kind of individual check-ins.
Okay.
So if I see a student is really shy, I try to make it my business to go into, because I do a lot of small group conversations about these kinds of topics. So I try to pop into that group and kind of talk to that person a little bit, or make sure they're sharing, or go in there and say, hey, what were you thinking about this? And I try to, especially if I have a small class, I try to check in with everyone every time I go to class. But so I have this shy person. So sometimes I say, encourage them to maybe open up, say more things. We just had the event yesterday with the Her Story event to celebrate International Women's Day. And a student of mine was in there. Okay. And she was the person who was too uncomfortable to sit in the panel.
Oh, okay.
So I have been talking to her. She was last semester in my class, and I've been talking to her about this event. And initially she said yes. And as the event started getting closer, she started saying, no. And then I just kind of negotiated with her.
Yeah.
And had her come to the panel, but had her sit in the front row.
Right.
And we agreed that when she felt comfortable to contribute, she could raise her hand.
Yeah.
And you would bring her the mic. And it turned out great.
Yeah.
I walked out with her. She hugged me.
Aww.
She was so happy that I pushed her, and that she can't believe that she was able to do that. This was something she could never see her be able to do. So it worked out great with her.
That is so great.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to flesh out a little bit. So Viivi has organized a panel for Women's History Month in March, the last 2 years, bringing in staff and students, women who were born in different countries, to talk about elements of their life and how it's different from the United States. And so this student is from Nigeria, and it was really sweet even just to watch, not knowing the backstory, other than you coming up and saying, this student isn't comfortable being up on the panel, so she's going to be in the front row instead. And I said to her, that way you can't see any of the people behind you.
Right.
And when it started out, she would sort of read her notes on the microphone. But as the event went on and people were really engaged, she started telling stories.
Yes,
and she really started to lighten up and kind of open up. And I think just that opportunity to see people were really interested in what she had to say.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad to hear that as you two walked out that she said that.
So I do like a lot of check-ins with students. Like if I have students who I know are international students, or who are have accommodations, I either send emails or I talk to them and say, how's everything going? Are you okay? I often share in the beginning of the semester that I was an international student, and I tell them a little bit about some of the difficulties, and I encourage people to reach out to me. Because, sometimes students don't know who to go to. They don't know. So I want them to always know that they can come to me. And I have students sometimes email me saying, hey, I just have a question about, I don't know what I should do. Can I come and talk to you? Just because, we all need someone to run by thoughts or ideas that we have.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, does this relationship that you have with your students, does that come from an experience that you had as a student? Because it sounds like when you were getting your degrees, that being an educator was not your plan. But then when you made that transition, was there a teacher or a professor that kind of stood out as a model for you, or anything like that?
I hate to say no.
You can say no.
But it is, it's a no, yes. What I learned to kind of do was ask myself
Yeah.
to find the answers. And that could be why I want to be something different for other students. I didn't feel like I had that.
Yeah.
You know, but I do like that this college assigns us people to help us. So I do have what I would consider a mentor here, that if I have questions, I go to her and I do everything she says. So I do feel very good. I feel very supported here.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying about it is funny, that question, you know, who was that figure for you? And I always feel a little pressure to come up with someone, you know, like, well, there was a person, and which is not to say, certainly in high school, I did have some really great teachers that inspired me. When I went back to school later on in my 30s, you know, to pursue the graduate work, I had some great people. My first time around in undergrad, I would say, there wasn't anybody who really, you know, which probably explains a lot why I struggled a lot in undergrad my first go around.
I mean, I certainly learned to search for answers.
Yeah.
Like I learned that I didn't have mommy and daddy.
Yeah.
You know, if I needed something, I had to figure it out.
Right. Yeah. Which I think is true of our adult students, because I would say that was me when I came back in my 30s. Right. It's like, okay, well, now I'm just going to go to these professors' office hours. I'm gonna go.
I mean, if I need to say anything that helped me was office hours, writing tutoring. I went to the writing tutoring. I mean, on a regular, once a week, I went to writing. I would take whatever I was working on, or I went to office hours, or I would take my paper to office hours and say, what do I need to fix before I submit this paper?
That's great.
Because and my grammar is still really bad.
Well, so is mine.
Okay, so that makes me feel better.
So how many years has it been that you've been in the teaching biz?
5, I think. 5, yeah.
So in these 5 years of being in higher ed, if there was like one thing that you could change about, I guess, higher ed or the profession, what would that be? Yeah,
so I have 2 answers to this.
Oh, you're only allowed one. Okay.
So for students' perspective, right, what I would say change in higher ed is give students the ability to be students. Especially what I see happening at the community colleges is that our students have to deal with so much. Work, maybe family responsibilities, personal responsibilities, school, all of these things. And I wish they would have the opportunity, because, I mean, we're all gotten degrees and love learning, and it's, you know, there's a lot to be said what goes on in colleges, but a lot of our students have no ability to do those things. So I wish there could be some changes made so that students could be students,
right? And that they wouldn't have all of the other concerns that especially our students have about earning money and you know, taking care of their own children or caregiving other people, or that's a great point.
Yeah, and so, you know, what for, I guess, adjuncts, since I'm an adjunct, it's really difficult as an adjunct to become very invested in the college that you're in. Now, I teach at 2 places, and you know, I have the same trainings for the 2 places. And just, well, in addition, just having to keep track of different things. When is everything, so that I don't, you know, go crazy. But the kind of like, I like to build relationships, right? I like to feel like I belong somewhere. And the adjunct life doesn't really allow for that.
Yeah.
And so that is something like if this could be structured in a different way, I mean, we have to make money, so we can't, So I wish for that.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm so glad you brought that up, Vivi, about because our school, I'm not exactly sure of the numbers right now, but it's something like 75% of our classes are taught by adjuncts, are taught by part-time professors. But to your point, this might be a person who's teaching at 2 schools, 3 schools, more than that. And like you're saying, they may have different academic calendars and different expectations about what you do. And it is, and as someone who has taught as an adjunct at different institutions, it can feel very isolating because you don't know the culture at the college.
And then you don't get to contribute in ways that faculty gets to contribute.
Yeah.
You don't get to contribute to what is taught, how it's taught. You can't have necessarily a voice in these kinds of conversations that you may want to have a voice in.
Absolutely.
And contribute in non-classroom ways. So, like, I love that at NCC, we do a lot more of that. There's a lot, like, I feel a lot closer to this institution because there is a lot more of that.
That's great.
And, but there are a lot of things I say no to, or there's a lot of things I look at my schedule and say, well, I can't go to that. Or I'd love to go to that, but I can't go to that.
Right.
So it's kind of forced distance that some people, like myself, like, it's hard. I like to belong.
Yeah. And that's why we are so incredibly grateful when, you organized this international women's panel, right? It's so amazing when people who are part-time faculty here are still contributing to the environment here for all of our students.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know how you have the bandwidth.
Well, obviously it's close to my heart,
Yeah,
so that
yeah,
helps, right?
yeah.
But I'd like to do more. It's just,
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, I think we are sadly reaching the end of our
How about my guilty
conversation.
pleasure?
Yes.
My
That's
guilty
where we're
Gonna say,
going.
all
We're
right.
very excited.
Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Are you guys
We're
ready
so
for my
excited to
guilty
hear about your
pleasure?
guilty pleasure.
Okay. My guilty pleasure is The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
Is that on Netflix?
It's on Hulu.
It's on Hulu. Okay.
All 4 seasons.
Oh my goodness.
Now, I love all manner of trashy TV. This season has been fantastic.
Oh, wow.
Do not ask me to name my favorite Real Housewives because I cannot. They're all fantastic, and you guys need to start streaming them right away.
So is season 4 your favorite because it's the trashiest?
Season 4 is pretty exciting. There's some stuff going on that it's fantastic. Yes, it is probably the trashiest. Yes. But I am starting, and I feel bad about this because I am starting to feel slightly bad watching this because these people, some of them are having real issues that I feel like being on the show is really making it worse. So if you've ever watched Shasha Sunset or The Valley Person Style,
yeah.
you know who I'm talking about. Gigi, call Nessa. She needs help.
So I'm going to give you, because I always have to say that you should not feel guilty about any pleasure. And I'm also going to give you a justification /out here because it is so psychologically fascinating to watch some of these reality shows because my non-guilty reality show, I'm obsessed with Love is Blind. Obsessed with Love is Blind. It is so fascinating from a psychological perspective. All of the the self-deception and the cognitive dissonance that happens on that show is absolutely fascinating.
Yes, I don't watch it from a psychological perspective.
Okay, fine. I was going to give you that out.
No. I know I'm taken here. Okay, let's be real. I was even telling my kids about, what should I say for guilty pleasure? And I said, I'm going to talk about this.
I love it.
And my kid goes, that's not a guilty pleasure because you like them. You feel no guilt. And honestly, I do not.
Good.
That is awesome.
And I feel no guilt about Love is Blind.
Yes, you shouldn't.
Well, Viivi, thank you so much. This was so great to have you as a guest.
Oh, thank you for having me.
It was an absolute pleasure meeting you, and just an equal pleasure talking with you. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, both of you.
Pedagogy a go go. Pedagogy go go go.
All right. Well, that was absolutely delightful. Like, I'm glad that I had the opportunity to meet Viivi. I love the accent. But like, holy crow, like, she brings so much to the classroom. Like, I'm just like gobsmacked. I feel like I need to like take one of her courses, not only to learn the material, but also to learn like how she engages with the craft of teaching. Mm-hmm. Like that was incredible.
I mean, she's got so much humility around it, which again, I think that's the most important thing. Well, one of the most important things we can bring into the classroom. Mm-hmm. And she just has that natural humility and curiosity and desire to know her students, mm-hmm. which again, I would love to take more of that. I also really appreciated her honesty about, no, there wasn't a teacher that was helpful to me. I wish there had been for mm-hmm. her, but I think sometimes we do make it seem like, and I think I'm party to that. We sort of make it seem like this path was lit by this, person carrying the torch of education mm-hmm. for us. And I think a lot of us do get into education because of that. But some of us, like Viivi, are in it because they want to give what they didn't get. And how mm-hmm. amazing is that to want to do? Well,
yeah. And while she was talking about that, I was thinking of two things. Like, first is like how we have that question crafted isn't so much it's a person, but it's like person or an experience.
Right.
And
true.
I totally dropped the ball on that. Like, normally that's your question. And I saw a moment and I seized it, and
that's what you should do, Kelly.
I effed it up.
You didn't. That is
terrified.
How. But, this is now you're happy that you got psychologists in the room because we can talk you out of your little spiral that you're in right now. Your little shame spiral.
No. It's a spiral
you're
that'll
good
just
enough,
go and go.
And you're smart enough, and people like you.
Oh, I loved those little skits, but like people don't know that anymore.
Oh, Stuart Smalley. Yeah. Kids, Google Stuart Smalley, SNL. Oh. You're good enough, you're smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like you.
Oh, I just absolutely love those. But okay, so but like the other part that I wanted to talk about is like where like how absence shapes meaning. So like as she was talking about like how she didn't like have all these things so that when she teaches, she's like she wants to fill that void that she wishes would have been present when she was a student. I think that's like it's not a deficit. Really, right. Like those absences, like sometimes they can manifest themselves in a way that I think is beneficial if we look at them in a healthy way. And as psychologists, I'm hoping that you have the capability of doing that, which apparently you do.
Well, and she had the wherewithal to come to a completely different country, mm-hmm. not having learned English as a child and grappling with it. So there is something in Viivi that must also be like, I'm going to do this thing, right? So she had that grit. She mm-hmm. had that mm-hmm. determination. But that's such a fascinating way that you just put it, like making meaning out of sort of the void or making meaning out of what is missing. Because I think that is a thing we talk about in psychology is we can all make meaning from what we have been through, right? Mm-hmm. There's a concept called post-traumatic growth, right? Mm-hmm. And not to say that well, not to call everything trauma, right? I think we kind of make that mistake in this day and age. We sort of want to label everything as a trauma, but to make those hard experiences, those hard challenges into meaning moving into the future is one of the things that sets us up for success in life. So, and I think Viivi's a real testament to that.
And I kind of got to admit, as she was talking, I was like, are we hiring any full-time psychologists?
I know. Oh, believe me.
Wow.
Believe me. Yes. Yeah. She would have so many cheerleaders if we were able to do that, you know. So if anybody wants to donate to NCC.
Yeah, we should have that. Like, they had those, like, something like chair or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
an endowed chair. How great would that be?
Oh, we got to work on that.
We're going to work on it.
Okay.
All right. Stay tuned, everyone.
All right. Well, is that a wrap?
I think that's a wrap.
All right. Well, Gina, as always, it was a pleasure.
As always, a delight.
All right. See you next time.
See you next time.
Thank you for listening to Pedagogy A Go-Go, recorded in the Center for Teaching, Learning, and Technology at Northampton Community College in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Our producer in all things technology is Jeff Armstrong. If you've got any questions, please send them to pedagogyagogo@gmail.com, and be sure to follow us on social media at pedagogyagogo, and click into our bio for copies of podcast transcripts, guest assignments, and other useful tidbits. Until next time, this is Gina and Kelly saying we hope your day is filled with wonderful learning experiences.